Let's take a look from a 10,000 view and how the CakePHP framework is laid out. This will help us hit the ground running when we actually get into writing our application. The first thing you'll notice when you download and install Cake is the directory structure. Here's how it's basically laid out. Everything in your application is going to be located in the app directory. This includes configuration information. The console will contain Bake, but there's some other console classes available to you as well. The controller will house your controllers. The view will hold all of your view templates. Model is where you're going to place all of your data models. And finally, the web root is where you're going to place any of the assets that you need inside of your application. Additionally, you're going to have the library directory, or lib. This is going to contain the core Cake libraries. The vendors folder is where you're going to put any third-party tools if you want to use different template engines or something like that. The plugins is where you can add any CakePHP plugins you have. When you're creating the data model, you're simply going to create a file in the app/model directory. This class is going to extend the app model class. Whatever you name the class will coordinate how it connects to the database. Specifically, it will determine what the database table is that it connects to. And we'll look more into this in the movie about the data model. That's pretty much all you need to do in Cake to create a class. This will handle both the entity management as well as all the add, update, and delete information to the database. Of course, if you want to add additional behavior or add additional functionality, you are welcome to do so inside of that class. The view layer is typically written in templates that have a .ctp ending inside your views folder. If you want, you can use a template engine like Twig or Smarty, but typically they're written straight in PHP. There are 4 different types of view templates you can create. You can create layouts, and layouts are the skins or wrappers that you'll wrap around your application or parts thereof. Views work with the controller, and these will be specific actions inside of your application. For example, one view that we're going to create is the form, and another view you might create is the thank you page. Elements are little sub-applications that will show up within your application. They can be as simple as displaying links, or they can be more complicated, like a forum. Helpers are functional little bits that can do all kinds of things to help build forms, add JavaScript functionality, or work with feeds. The controller handles the core routing and how everything works inside of the CakePHP application. Every application is going to have an app controller main class. You can then create your own controllers and methods to customize things how you like. If you're working with the create, read, update, delete methodology, you're going to want to make sure that the name of your controller correlates to the name of your database table, which will also map to the model name. If you want, inside of your controller, you can add additional models than the one that matches your controller name using the uses variable. Templates are going to load automatically. Again, this happens because of the naming conventions. The controller defaults to have HTML, form, and session helpers. You can include different ones if you like, or if you don't want to use some of these, you can specify which ones you want to use. You can generate all of these MVC elements using the command line if you prefer. Here's how the Cake environment looks from a diagrammatic perspective. You can see the client is going to make a request. It's down at the bottom left by number 1, which is going to be handled by the dispatcher. It'll look at the URL to determine how to route the functionality and what's going on from the user request. This will then go to the controller, which may or may not use components or talk to the models. In the end, it's going to generate a view that's going to include the main layout, the specific view, and possibly other elements. Again, this can use helper classes to do it. And finally, it will deliver the response to the client. CakePHP is a fairly comprehensive MVC framework, and it allows developers to skip a lot of steps by using naming conventions to connect models to database, models to controllers, views to controllers, and the like. Once you get used to the CakePHP environment, this can make getting an application up and running, well, I hate to say it, but a piece of cake. The next step is to dive in and start creating some code.